Right. Let's give it a go then. Let's crack on. So, good evening, everybody. Thank you, those of you that were able to join us. Been really looking forward to this. The last chocolate pairing tasting I did with Chris was the Four Roses one, Valentine's Day, which was really good. Dan from Maison Ferrand, who are the parent company that own it, over Planteray, had asked me, oh, this was early in the year, wasn't it? To say, like, do you fancy doing a tasting at some point in summer? And it was like, yes, please. And, oh, actually, let's do a chocolate one because we've got a couple of flavored rums that they do, the new cut and dry. I was really intrigued to see how that was going to pair, to see what Chris comes up with. So this is the end result. This is where we are. So we've got Chris from Treat, who's created the chocolates for us. Most of you on the call, I think, have encountered him, been involved. I think pretty much everyone. There might be one or two that haven't done one of our tastings. And then Dan is a sales manager, brand ambassador, drinks guru, just all round top bloke in the drinks industry, who works for Maison Ferrand, who are the parent company of Planteray. So I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. So I think, Daniel, if you want to give us a bit of background information, if you want to kind of like start us off, and then Chris, if once we get to each sample, if you then want to dive in and give us your thinking behind the chocolate, behind the pairing, the reasoning behind it, flavor profile, that sort of thing. Chris, do you just want to give everybody as a reminder, or for the first time, how you would how you would like us to taste the chocolates with each rum?
Yeah, so we normally kind of play it by ear, but with this, I think the rum is absolutely the star of the show. So I think you need to try the rum as is, then have a
Yeah,
little bit of the chocolate, go back to the rum, go back to the chocolate, and see
yeah.
how the two bounce off each other.
So I have a plate with the chocolates and a sharp knife, and basically I cut each one in half with the sharp knife, and I will normally do rum, try the rum, have half the chocolate, then have rum, and then go back to the chocolate because I found with when we've done these tastings is that you'll get a flavor profile from the spirit. The chocolate will then kind of give its own identity. And then when you go back to the spirit, it changes yet again. And it's kind of like one of them bouncing off the other. So, yeah, that's the way I'm doing it. But whatever works for you. If you just want to scoff the lot, go for it. That's absolutely fine. And then we've got a bonus one in here as well. We've got the bonus jelly. So if you want to do that one at the end as well, yep, awesome. Okay, so Dan, I'm going to hand over to you. So Daniel Alonso, give us some background information or however you want to do this selection of runs.
Sure thing. Before I get started, Chris, a quick question for you. I'm allergic to milk, so what is there milk in all of these?
Yeah, they've all got cream in.
That's fine. I'll taste them, but I will need to just get rid of them afterwards. So me doing
Sorry
that
about
is
that,
not
Dan.
saying the chocolates are horrible. I'm just physically unable to digest dairy. So I
Would
will
have been good
try
to know that.
alongside them. I just can't eat them. So yeah.
It would have been good to know that
Um,
like way earlier.
but no, I didn't want that dictating the session because the session's not about my dietary preference. It's a dietary requirement. It's about the best pairing for chocolate and rum. So I
Yeah.
deliberately didn't mention it.
I
Um,
did forget to mention as well, Ben, that the bacon one has actually got bacon in it, so it's not suitable for vegetarians.
Okay. Right. Fair enough.
um, so yeah, my name's Daniel Alonso. As Ben said, I am the Northern Sales Manager for Maison Ferrand, which is an old French cognac house. Our most well-known brand, ironically, is not a cognac; it's Planteray Rum, which we're all going to taste today. I've been on board for 4.5 years now, working across the North, the Midlands, and now Northern Ireland. Prior to this, I spent 19 of the last 22 years in the hospitality industry. Started out pulling pints in my local spoons when I was 18 years old. Ended up doing that in a few different spoons for about 3 years. Then went to university in Sheffield and started working in a hotel bar. Took a couple of years out after that, and then after university, got back into bars Run a few on Call Lane in Leeds, then moved over to Manchester. Been here ever since. I live in Manchester, by the way. And then a few years ago, I got to meet Ben through work. We did a fantastic event with the rum and some Caribbean food at
Yeah.
the hall in Howden. It was absolutely terrific. And then start of this year, I wanted to do more events, so we decided we'd go the other side of the food conundrum and do rum and chocolates. And that's when Ben introduced me to Chris, sent a load of rum out, and Chris has created these, I'm sure, beautiful chocolates in front of us. So, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take you through a little bit about our brand, and then of the 5 expressions that we're going to try, I'll talk you through a little bit about each of them as we're tasting the chocolate. If at any point anyone has any questions, please just dive in and ask. This isn't a dictation; it's entirely an open forum. If anything needs clarification, or if you feel that I've explained something not well enough, by all means, just dive in. We're all here to enjoy our rum and chocolate, but also we're all here to learn a little bit about why they go well together. So, a little bit about Planteray as a brand. So, I mentioned earlier that Ferrand is an old Maison Ferrand is an old French cognac house that's been operational since 1630. My boss Alexandra bought it in 1989 after it had been derelict for about 40 years. The last surviving male Ferrand died in 1940. The last surviving female Ferrand sadly died in 2017. She was very, very old. So there was no one left to carry on the name. And so Alexandra bought the house in 1989. There it is. Set about revitalizing the whole thing. Started making cognac straight away. The cognac operation never completely stopped. It was just never fully operational during those dormant years. In 1996, we launched a brand called Citadel Gin. It nearly bankrupted us within a year because at the time there were maybe 10 gins in the entire world. 9 of them were made in London and 1 of them was made in Plymouth. No one drank French gin at all, not even the French. It took the Spanish chef Ferran Adria going on his TV show in Spain with a big goblet of gin and tonic and saying that although the copa, as they call it, is a Spanish creation, he thought the best gin to do it with was this little gin from just over the Spanish border in southwest France called Citadel. And that was our Sinatra drinking Jack Daniels moment. From that moment, we were pretty much saved. It was very close to us stopping operations. And within 2 years, we'd clawed so much of that money back that we managed to launch Planteray, or Plantation as it was back then. Our first rum was a 1986 Barbados that we'd finished off for a year in a cognac cask. I got to try some 2-3 years ago at Rumfest in London. Horrible. Wouldn't recommend it. We still have 1 bottle of it left, and it's kept in a safe in the West Indies Rum Distillery in Barbados. So they're purely for historical purposes. Really was not great at all, but it stands as a good piece of history to also let us know how far we've come. Over the last 26 years, we've diversified what we do with rum from a classic straight old Bajan rum to a number of very different rums. So these, what we have here, we'll go from right to left. So we have the 3 stars in the original dark, which are what you'd call our house white and house dark rums. The rum in the middle is the XO, which is our biggest selling rum in the world. And then the other ones around it are part of our vintage series. Our vintage series looks quite different these days. But in fact, the vintage series now looks a little something like these, really intricate labels and countries that you didn't really know produced a lot of rum, like Belize, for example. But over the time, the brand has just gotten stronger and stronger. It came to 2014 when we launched a pineapple rum, which is the rum that we have become globally known for. In a way, that rum's become bigger than us. Every time I introduce myself to somebody as working at Planteray Rum, the first thing they do is go, "Oh yeah, pineapple rum." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's us." As time has gone on, we have developed partnerships with rum distilleries from all across the world. We now make rum, I believe, with distilleries in 19 different countries. And Alexandra right now is in Puerto Rico, so that might be adding a 20th to our arsenal very soon. In 2017, we purchased the West Indies Rum Distillery in Barbados, Stades Rum. which is one of the oldest distilleries in the world. It's 131 years old now. This was very significant for us because with it being so historic and so well revered in Barbados, it put Alexandra in contract with several government officials, let's say. And they essentially issued challenges to him. It was a case of, well, what are you going to do to benefit the island of Barbados? And it was just a case of, well, what do you need? Do you need sugarcane plantations? Do you need coconut groves? Do you need expanded production? And he was like, well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put everyone on full-time contracts, because out there, everything's very gig-based. You work when you're needed. The way Alexandra put it to the staff was that if I'm George Epstein, you guys are the Beatles, and I need you guaranteed to be working at all times whenever you need to, in order to produce your best work. So everyone is on a full-time contract if they want it, and it all goes from there. And Paul, who was my direct line manager, was out there with him at the time, and he says he has never seen a room full of people pop off at one hand saying you can work more than that in his entire life. Usually you'd get that if you said, yeah, you can work less, it's fine. But they were just so happy to be working full-time in the distillery that they love on a guaranteed contract that our retention rate for people in Barbados is astronomically high. As time's gone on, we have increased production in the distillery in Barbados nearly fivefold. We're now the largest exporter of rum on the island. The majority of that rum is white label. So it's people who come to us looking for a specific profile, and we have something that suits them and we sell it to them that way. This is essentially one of the only ways at the minute to grow as a business, as a distiller. You'll find that wineries and breweries are doing the same thing. Tons and tons of white label coming off there. So if you see a bottle of Barbados rum on the shelves and it doesn't have the distillery written on there, it's probably us. That's the easiest way to describe it. There is another very small distillery on the island that does white label rum, but I actually don't know the name of it. Paul told me the name of it once and I forgot. So in between us, Mount Gay, St Nicholas Abbey, and Foursquare, Mount Gay is the oldest. We are the second oldest. We are the largest producer. And then in addition to that, we have also purchased shares in two distilleries in Jamaica alongside another distillery and the Jamaican government. And that is Long Pond and Clarendon. We won't be tasting any straight Jamaican rum today, but there is some Jamaican rum in both the pineapple and the 3 Stars in the blend. And I'll run you through both of those when we get to it. In terms of what we do on an annual basis with our rums, we release an average of about 45 rums per year, in addition to what we previously held. Most of these are private labels. You can buy a barrel of rum off us if you want to. You can buy a quarter barrel of rum off us off a barge in Paris if you want to. We're in the position where we're still small enough to not have to say no to a lot of things. If you're somehow on a tour of one of our barrel houses and you try something that you really like, everything's for sale at a price, isn't it? I mean, that's just good business. There is, as far as I'm aware, there is only one barrel in the warehouse that is not for sale, and it already has Alexandra's name on it. So, yeah, I've still not even been allowed to try what's in that barrel, so I guess I'll never know. Part of me hopes it's just a smoke screen and he's doing that as a little I can type of thing, but yeah. I just don't like knowing there's a barrel in my warehouse that I can't try. Maybe one day, who knows? Maybe that'll be my gold watch after 5 years service. So, enough about me waffling on about company history. Shall we try a little bit of rum and eat some chocolate? So, first up, we have the 3 Stars. Chris, what order are these going, by the way? Yes.
So I've got them in the order that Ben's got them left to right.
Yeah, okay. So it's 3. Yeah,
yeah.
So
3 Stars.
Should be three stars. Fiji, XO, Stiggins, cut and dry.
Okay.
And then the chocolate is the vanilla honey. Which, as a reminder, let me just share that one. So that's what it looks like.
Okay, got you.
I always forget about the chat. Right, yes. So Jane said, "Can you describe the appearance of the chocolates?" Oh, I'm not sure which order they're in. So this should be on the sticker on the inside of the box, but as a I'll throw this up at each time as a reference. So
This is the
it's
first
the
one.
vanilla honey with the kind of yellow splatter on it. Weirdly, the banana caramel is the one that doesn't really have any yellow on it, which was a bit confusing. But yeah, so
I
we've
did
got
that
the
on
vanilla honey.
purpose.
You swine.
Yeah.
So
Green
yeah, so it's
green
the
splatter is the first one.
no yellow splatter.
Yellow.
It's
That
greeny
yellow?
yellow, I would say.
Is it
Dan's
greeny
in a
yellow?
dark room. Dan's in a dark room and he's sipping from a
Oh
mug
yeah,
of
there
Death
is that.
Row.
Yeah.
So
It's the Jackson Pollock painting.
Hmm. Green or yellow?
Yeah, greeny yellow,
Okay.
something like that. Yeah. So
So the rum that's going to go with this is the 3 stars.
yeah,
Now, the 3 stars is a super significant rum for us as a company, and it's a fine example as well to always write down the ideas you have when it's 2 a.m. on a Friday night and you're absolutely hammered, because this is how this came around. So in the late 2000s, Paul, my boss, owned a share in a tiki bar in West London called Trailer Happiness. 350 rums. It was like a rum Bible in bar form. And him and Alexandra, he'd only just started working with Alexandra at this point. Him and Alexandra were in there having a lock in. And Paul's favorite drink is a daiquiri. If you ever meet Paul, you'll realize that only 3 things he drinks in life are the occasional glass of water, a black coffee, or a daiquiri. That's it. Every now and then, maybe a Corona. Um, so Paul has always judged a rum based on how good a daiquiri it makes. He was lamenting at the time the quality of daiquiri rums in the world, so Alexandra asked him to put a report together. So going back and forth over many, many months, many samples sent between Cognac and London, and they finally hit upon it, and it's what we call 3 stars. The name 3 stars is there for 2 reasons. One is 3 different islands of the Caribbean that make up the rum: Barbados, Jamaica, and Trinidad. Inside this rum are 4 different rums blended together. There are 2 from Barbados, there is 1 from Trinidad, and 1 from Jamaica. Now, the Trinidadian is not ours because we don't own a distillery in Trinidad. The only legal distillery in Trinidad is Angostura, Trinidad Distillers Limited, which is owned by Angostura. The Barbados is from our own in West Indies Rum Distillery, and the Jamaica is from our own from Clarendon. Now, the Jamaican part of this is about 1% of this bottle, and it is 10 years old. And that is why this is ever so slightly off clear. You'll notice it's not completely clear. There's an ever so slight tint to it, and that is just the 10-year in the blend. You'll notice it more Ben in a full bottle than you will in a
I was
shot.
going to say, I'm
Yeah.
looking at this going,
But there was
maybe.
always something that made me wonder if the glass was smoked, and then as the bottle got emptier, I realised that it was when I started this was that it was the liquid. But yeah, there's an unaged Bajan rum, a 2-year-old Bajan rum, a 2-year-old Jamaican rum, and a slight little bit of 2-year-old Trinidadian rum, and a slight bit of 10-year-old Jamaican rum. Now, the interesting thing about this being formulated for daiquiris is that there are at least 4 rums on the market that say this rum was formulated for a daiquiri. And would you know it, all 4 of them taste wildly different in a daiquiri. But that's the beauty of such a cocktail. We believe this is the most balanced daiquiri that's available. It's bottled at 41.2, which is an incredibly strange percentage, but that was just the percent where the combination of the rum with the lime and the sugar and the ice just worked for Paul. So it was bottled at that by trial and error more than anything else. There was no science behind it. It was all about taste. So, Chris, you recommended that we have some rum, then take some chocolate, and then some more rum. All right, let's go.
Right, Chris. So what was your thinking behind this? Because I mean, this is my last bit, but it it really does work. And rum, chocolate. It changes both as you go through.
So white rum has
Oh,
always pretty much been my spirit nemesis. I've always really struggled. Other than there's one from down south. I think it's Cornish. Is there a Cornish white rum? Then if you give me a name, I'll.
Um,
ninefold.
That's the one.
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. which I don't mind, but this is lovely. So it's got a few contradictions in it though for me. Like the nose really contradicts the palate for me. I get quite a bit of spice on the nose, but then drinking it is just so smooth. I don't think it even drinks at 41.2. I think it's just really smooth and almost got that kind of vanilla-y custardy. But I'd already decided I wanted to do a vanilla custardy type chocolate for the coconut one later. So I do like playing with honey, and the honey that I've used in this, I found a honey producer just down the road from us in Saltburn last Christmas. And when I asked her if she'd be able to produce honey for me to use en masse in chocolate, she looked horrified because she is just a lady who has a few hives in the bottom of a garden and she plays season on season with different flowers in the garden so that she gets slightly different flavors. And she calls this one her vanilla honey. So I've just folded that. She's unbelievably small batch, but just fantastic honey. I used hers in the Four Roses as well. Then we did a whipped honey.
Yeah. Oh, the whipped honey, Jesus, yeah, that's
so that
amazing.
was from the same lady, same bees. But yeah, it was unbelievable, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Have you still got me there? Because I've just got
an
error. Yeah. So basically, for all of the rums, because they've got that kind of same base characteristic, I've gone with a dark chocolate shell for all of them. But this one, I've got a slightly lighter dark chocolate in the center. So the shells are all made from 70.5% cocoa chocolate. And then this one's got a 54.5% cocoa chocolate in the center with the cream and the butter that you would get in any fresh cream ganache, but then just at the last minute that honey's folded through it. And it, unlike other honey chocolates that I've done before, this really, really sweetens up the chocolate. So I think it balances really nicely, but then cuts through that spice on the nose and accompanies that really creamy mouthfeel.
Yeah. The having that high cocoa dark chocolate shell, that partners the spicy element, and then the honey creamy note in the middle is what then balances off with the rest of the flavor profile, that kind of silky, quite rich mouthfeel. But again, it then, as you do one and then the other, it brings out different parts from each of them. Let's open it up to the room. Now I need to find the button where it says, hang on, chat, no, participants, no. Where's the button gone that says, hang on, that one, there we go. Right. Ask to unmute. So does anybody have comments on this? Love to know your thoughts on this. I really, really like this. If you're not, if you weren't aware already, any thoughts?
Down start for the evening.
It's a good start. We've got thumbs up from the Priestleys. Somebody said it's a good start, and I've no idea who it was. Was that you, Jamie?
It was David.
It was David.
Oh, okay. I've got the three of us, and then I've got everybody else on the top across two bits. I'm kind of clicking in between. Oh, was it John? Right.
Yeah, it's very good.
And is anybody getting any differences from the rum having tried the chocolate?
Yeah, I would say so. For me, I think after having the chocolate and going back to it, it brought out a bit more sort of caramel on the palate for me.
Yeah.
I enjoy the contrast. You've got the white rum, the very dark chocolate. They're both very smooth. But the contrast works really well together. I thought the chocolate was stunning. The rum is very good, but the chocolate was stunning.
Well, so it's 1-0 to chocolate so far, Chris.
We've never actually scored it before, Dan. We've never done it that way, have we, Ben?
No, we haven't.
No.
And I think we'll score it. We'll score it when there isn't you and the brand ambassador on at the same time, because I don't think that's fair. Because otherwise it might get personal.
The way I'll put it is,
we haven't done that. Yeah.
The way I'll put it is, I know how good the chocolates are, and I don't usually like white rum, as you know, but that white rum is probably the best white rum I've had. So I'm going to give it to the rum.
Yeah, I would agree entirely with that, Brian.
My man
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah.
break there is, yep.
Yeah.
No, and it's funny since opening the shop. My rum section has always been very popular. There's lots of people saying like, oh, rum is on the up and rum's the next gin and blah 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 blah. But rum is always popular, and lots of people asking for spiced rum. And if you looked at my rum sales in the last 4 years, white rum is a tiny percentage of it. Everybody's like, oh, I want a white rum for Coke, but I don't want to get them Bacardi, that sort of thing. Very rarely do I get people coming in going, I want to make daiquiris, what have you got? So I've probably had at most 4 white rums in the shop at any one time. But 3 Stars has been there consistently. And it's always brilliant. It's the one white rum where if somebody said to me, you've got to pick one white rum, what do you go for? It's always going to be this. It's absolutely brilliant stuff. The versatility of it as well.
Yeah, I don't need to put anything with that other than a cube of ice, and I'd be very happy. I'm not going to mess around making a cocktail.
I agree.
Drinking rum.
Absolutely.
From a salesman's point of view as well, like this is the cheapest rum that I have in my range. Outside of bars, it's the hardest one to sell because of the image that white rum has. Like what Ben was saying, the image of white rum is Bacardi and Diet Coke with a squeezed lemon.
Yeah.
Whereas when you venture into whether it's my own, whether it's Chairman's White, whether it's William George, when you dive into stuff that's a little more nuanced, a whole world of flavors there. And it's important to remember as well, a lot of white rum on the market is actually what people would consider gold rum, but it's had the color filtered out of it. And there's a lot of rum on the market that people would consider gold or dark that is this young, but with coloring added to it. So it's a case of perception versus reality in a lot of ways. But yeah, this is for something that's about 32 quid a bottle, something like that.
$29.99, which is ridiculous.
Which
absolutely
is
ridiculous.
Outstanding value for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's our cheapest rum, and it's often the hardest one to sell.
Yeah.
Which is
there's no rules really with rum, is there? Not like whiskey. They can color it. They can
rum is very kind of fast and loose in terms of like as Daniel said, white rum. A lot of white rum is essentially a young aged rum that's then filtered to make it clear. Gold rum it can be coloured, it can be aged to some extent. It could be aged and then filtered to kind of make it golden. It's there's a lot of terminology that's on a label that is not meaningless, but you can play fast and loose with it and kind of make things sound like they aren't necessary. But it's one of those, unfortunately, that there's not that it's not regulated, but the regulation's quite lax. So
rum's biggest strength is also its biggest weakness, and that is that there are no general rules. You'll have certain rules in certain countries. Jamaica, for example, have quite a strict rule on, they have a no tolerance policy on sugar. Then you've got somewhere like Barbados where there's no rules. You've got French-speaking islands, former French-speaking colonies where there's very few rules, but everything naturally leans towards making sugarcane-based rums, which are very agricole. And then you have some countries where there are hyper-specific rules on how it has to be done. So across category, it's as long as it's some form of sugarcane production and distilled, that's about it across category, which is both a huge strength and a huge weakness at the same time. Can
I ask an awkward question? What exactly is in a daiquiri then?
A daiquiri is typically 50 mils of white rum with around 20 to 25 mils of fresh squeezed lime juice. And depending on your own taste profile on this, between 10 and 15 mils of sugar syrup. Then you shake that really hard with some ice and fine strain it into a glass. Super simple cocktail, but
very simple.
Really tough to get right.
Yeah. Getting the balance of those 3 ingredients is really hard. Because if you've got a white rum that's, in the case of 3 Stars, it's complex, but it's quite subtle. It doesn't take much to have too much lime involved in it. And likewise, a drop too much sugar syrup in, and all of a sudden it's way too sweet, and you're just losing everything. So it's a very weirdly delicate cocktail, but if you get it right, you can drink gallons of the stuff. It's just incredible. And yeah, as a refreshing cocktail, it's absolutely stunning.
Yeah, it's we always describe them as two sippers because like a daiquiri is served straight up rather than over ice. So it gets worse with every passing second that it's in the glass. So we always let you get your daiquiri, you take a sip, you put it down, you maybe have a couple of minutes of chit chat, and then you finish the rest of it off. Because anything after that, and it's too close to room temperature. At some point next year, Ben, we'll do a cocktail night.
Definitely, mate.
Space in the shop, we'll do a cocktail night next summer.
Spoiler alert. Yeah. But yeah, definitely. Absolutely, mate.
I'm going to need a date for that as soon as possible, Ben. I think it's worth saying there's a speakeasy opening not far from you that'll probably serve a fantastic.
I was going to say that till the end. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Just hang on. Bloody hell. Right. Okay. So let's move on to, and I've got the picture. A very evocative picture, and this is actually from the website as well. So this next one is Isle of Fiji, and what I will also do is, just for everybody's reference, is
chocolate is
picture up, which has got the picture. So this is the smoked ginger. Yes, airbrushed green. Yeah, see, I did a bit of Photoshop in it, and it looks a bit more yellow. But yeah, this definitely is a bit more kind of greeny. Greeny yellow, not quite as green, not quite as yellow as vanilla honey, but it's airbrushed light green is a good call. So let's put that on there and let's go back. So
apparently,
there,
right. So Isle of Fiji, Daniel.
Isle of Fiji. So we have been working with the Rumco of Fiji now for, I believe, 10 years. I think 2015 was our first ever Fijian rum release. It's been difficult getting the traction for Fijian rum off the ground because it's never really been associated with rum producing as a rum producing country. Now, Fiji was a former British colony, but it was one of the few places where the British never established a distillery. So the Fijians did it themselves. The distillery is run by just bear with me on this, by an Irish Fijian guy. You could not believe what I saw on the Zoom call when I was introduced to him. I was just like, you're the coolest man alive. Yeah, Irish Fijian guy called Liam Costello, who's the managing director of the Rumco of Fiji. The island of Fiji, or the three distilleries that are on Fiji, actually make quite a lot of rum or molasses or sugarcane juice. Most of it gets exported to Australia to be blended into things like Bundaberg. So that's where Fiji's rum reputation was. If you've ever had Bundaberg, you'll understand what I mean by that. Mm-hmm. Liam and Alexandra got in touch a long time ago, around 13 years ago now, and Liam wanted to improve the image of Fijian rum. So again, samples were sent back and forth. One of the things about us as a rum brand is, I mentioned earlier that we're an old cognac house. Every time you see our name on a rum bottle, it means the rum inside has been finished off in a brandy barrel. So that's our brand signature. So we age everything in bourbon barrels like every other aged spirit. And then we put it in a brandy barrel for anything between 3 months to 8 years, depending on what it is we're aging. This one is a 3-year-old Fijian rum that we have shipped in its barrel to France. And then we put it in a brandy barrel for a further 2 years. Now, the distillery itself is interesting. So there are a lot of companies around the world that have very strong interests in sugar production. Pepsi, Cola being the most, Pepsi and Coke being the two most obvious ones. They own so much property around the world that people don't realize is theirs, that it's actually astounding. The land on which this distillery sits in Fiji, the sugarcane plantations on all 4 sides are owned by Coca-Cola. We think that Coke might actually own the distillery that this is made in, and they don't realize it because they're not interested in the rum. They're interested in the sugarcane to make into Coke syrup. So a bit of kind of like snooping around on Fiji's version of Company's House. We've got a sneaky feeling that Coke might own it and not realize it. So at the moment, it's a case of let's just keep quiet and keep producing rum. because if it gets to the point where someone tries to buy it, they'll have to find out who owns it, and the gig might be up then. But yeah, Fijian rum is interesting from a taste point of view because it reminds me personally of two very different rum producing countries, and that's Jamaica and Trinidad. So I get a little bit of funk with Fijian rum, and by funk I mean that kind of roof of the mouth feel that you can't quite describe. That's called rum funk. It's typically found in Jamaica, in Haiti, in Martinique, in Guadeloupe, countries like that. I get a little bit of that, but I also get some white chocolate and citrus, which I always associate with Trinidad, mainly because I drink a lot of daiquiris. And that's a core part of our 3 stars. So getting both of these together in one bottle that happens to be made absolutely nowhere near those two countries was a little bit of a shock when I first started working for the brand. And it took me a good couple of years to figure out how to serve this properly in cocktails. This goes really well if you make cocktails at home in short stirred cocktails. Anything long, it just gets lost. It doesn't have the intensity in the body to hold up to that. But what it does have is a lot of delicate, nuanced flavors underneath that, when they're stirred with a little bit of citrus, a little bit of liqueur, a little bit of vermouth, and some bitters, really come out alive. So yeah, since then we've released a ton of rums with Fiji. We've got loads of Fijian rum laid down in our warehouse. We've done some excellent single barrels with Fiji. We have done, in fact, one of my all-time favorite Planteray Rums. I'm going to show you it. All that is left of this rum in the United Kingdom is in this bottle. One of my all-time favorite rums we released 6 months before I joined, and I won a bottle of it in a company lottery 2 years ago, and that's never getting opened. Maybe when I retire one day, if someone my age ever gets to do that, I might crack that open. This was an 11-year-old Fijian rum finished off in a Kilhoman whiskey cask. It's absolutely unbelievable. So Fijian rum is capable of some incredible things, and it often surprises people because it's just not associated with rum production. So have yourself a little drink and crack into the chocolate and see how you feel about
that. So Chris, tell us about the chocolate, but before you do, I do need to, this has got little bits of ginger in it, yeah? Yeah, because I'm picking them up on my teeth now. I didn't realise to start with. So this, yeah, what's your thinking behind this? Because this is really going places. Oh, hang on, you mute.
Sorry, I'm off.
Yeah. Oh no, I've just muted you.
One day we'll get this down.
We will. It's only been like 3 years we've been doing
it. Yeah, so I did something that I've never really done before, and I tried to not disturb the flavor of the rum at all because I absolutely love this rum. I think it's fantastic. So, but I didn't want to hide either. So the flavors are actually quite punchy, but without really getting in the way of the rum, hopefully. I love playing with smoke, and I've done quite a few smoked chocolates on our calls previously. The ginger being so small surface and the chocolates being so small batch, I actually smoked this using my cocktail smoker. I don't know if you can see that video.
Yeah,
but that's the ginger there in my glass, and that's it being smoked. So it's been smoked with cherry wood.
Yeah.
And then it's stem ginger that was then half of the smoked ginger was put into the puree before it was blended, and then half was put in afterwards, so it had already been finely chopped. And it's actually reduced the spice of the ginger but kept that warmth. And then you get the smoke. Now I get smoke on the nose with this really strongly, and I can't really explain that having listened to Dan's explanation of the production, but it's really strong in there for me. It almost stands up with a peated whiskey for me on the nose. I don't get anything like that on the palate. I just get that beautiful warmth. But it's an absolute winner for me. I will be stocking up with bottles of this for years to come.
Yeah, the Fiji is an absolute blinder. What I love about it is, as Daniel said, it's got the funky note of a Jamaican, but I can struggle with really funky Jamaican whiskies, particularly on the aroma. Palate, I'm less so, but now and again, it's almost like I'll nose it, and my brain's going no, because a lot of people liken it to like leather and overripe bananas, and when you get really intense ones, I really struggle on the aroma. Flavor wise, it's absolutely amazing, but it's got that funky note as well as the sort of the fruity note, the citrusy note, and things like that. And if I were to open some kind of bar speakeasy thing, and I were to put on a Mai Tai in particular, so the original recipe of the Mai Tai that was Victor Berger on, the original recipe has a 17-year-old Ray and Nephew Jamaican rum, and the cocktail was so popular that they basically ran out of 17-year-old Ray and Nephew because it was just being used for Mai Tais. If I were to make a Mai Tai, this would be the base rum in it, because it's got that funkiness of a Jamaican rum, but it's got loads of other things with it. And it would be a Mai Tai that is the rum, orgeat, triple sec, either lime juice or sweet and sour mix, and no pineapple juice or anything like that. So it is the rum is the star. It's not getting drowned with a pineapple juice or orange juice or mango juice or whatever these other places are doing Mai Tai. It's the rum supported by the orgeat and a Chutz triple sec and everything like that. And I'd probably float it with maybe the original dark, just to have like a little dark float on top. But it's an amazing rum. It's absolutely superb. And it works so well in rum full cocktails. And the ginger just takes the rum. This is one where having the chocolate and then going back to the rum just lifts everything in the rum. The rum shines even more. It just amazing, mate. It really takes it to another level. Just with that ginger element, just explodes a whole load of other flavors in there.
That was what I was trying to do. I was trying to pull everything out of it, which you obviously can't do because there is so much in it, but trying to pull as much out as possible. And I've spoken on calls before about when I was at the BBC Good Food Show with the chocolates one year, and there was a South American spices producer, and it's one of the greatest things I've ever done as a food professional was go and taste their different varieties of salt and pepper, because some of them amplified certain regions of your taste buds and some of them dulled them. And that was, do you remember a while ago we did a white pepper and banana chocolate?
Yeah.
And I just put the smallest amount of their white pepper in it, and it completely killed off your taste bud in a certain area of your mouth, so that half a banana had made an entire batch of chocolate, but they were just in your face banana chocolate. And that really was what I was trying to do with the ginger here, was just get rid of some of the taste buds to allow those citrusy notes to shine through. So I'm glad it's worked.
Yeah. Well, let's find out. Let's open it up to the rest of the room and see what you think, because we're just talking amongst ourselves, but it might be everyone else is going, no, I don't know what you're talking about. So what do the others think?
I absolutely love their rum. To me, I get wood on the nose is the first thing that I kind of get, or at least to me, it's kind of like wood shavings almost.
Oh yeah.
Yep, that's that. It's when you pop the bung off a barrel and stick your nose in it. It's that you get the wood from just around the rim and the alcohol coming through.
Yeah.
That's, you know what? No one's ever given me that tasting note before, and you are 200% correct.
Yeah. You're going to use that in every tasting you do for the next 6 months now.
I'm stealing that immediately.
Yeah. The thing is, I didn't see who said it, so I can't even turn around and say you've got to give credit because
that was Rob.
Was it Rob? Okay, yeah, right. So unfortunately, Rob, you're going to get zero credit for that for the next 6 months.
You ever see me using that on BBC Sunday Brunch? I'll just give a quick nod to the camera when I do it. That's entirely for you.
I'll be calling me mum.
So when we were talking about when Chris was talking about the chocolate there, you saw me reach into my cupboard behind me. I pulled something out, and this is a 19-year-old Fijian rum that we released 2 years ago. The one you've just tasted is 5 years old. That's a 5-year-old blend. This is a straight 2004 Fijian rum. It was absolutely exceptional. We don't have much left as a company. Spent 17 years aging in Fiji and then 2 years in France, and it's bottled 10% stronger than this one. It has the same characteristics, but on steroids. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. But our vintage stuff, we only get half a barrel of it in the UK, so it goes very quickly. But yeah, those would have been those fancy looking bottles in the second slide that Ben showed. This is just the modern takes on it.
Any other thoughts in the room for the chocolate or the rum before we move on to the next one?
Both excellent, I would say. Really, really worked. I get quite a lot with the rum. I get quite a lot of like anise and almost like cola cubes, that kind of thing sticks in my mouth afterwards, which is really nice. Yeah. But yeah, then the ginger just complements it so well.
Oh, yeah, now you've said cola cubes, I absolutely get that, and I wouldn't have picked that up beforehand. Yeah. Excellent. Right, so let's move on to the XO. So let me just, for the chocolate reference, go back to that one. And I'm hoping... No, let's go back to that. Share that one. So for the chocolate, it is the banana caramel, which is the one with the dark green, a little bit of red next to it. Because it's got banana in, obviously it's the one that doesn't have any yellow on it at all. And while you... so if you wanted to let us know about the XO, because this has changed, because it was a little bit controversial when it first came out, wasn't it?
There was a slight controversy. Well, are you on about the labelling?
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can find the original.
So the second slide you put up with all the vintage bottles on it, that has.
Oh no, I've got it. Yeah. No, I found I was just trying to find a bit of a clearer image of. It's a bit fuzzy, but let's go with.
So this.
So is this what it?
XO.
Yeah. So is that what it looked like when it first came out?
Here of it being called Planteray 20th anniversary. Now, the story behind this is we launched this in 2009, which was our 20th anniversary of owning Maison Ferrand. Throughout the year, the blending team had decided they were going to mark the occasion and not tell Alexandra about it. So started siphoning off rum from certain Bayesian barrels to blend together for what was meant to be a one-off blend. So at the 20th anniversary company dinner, Alexandra's a little stressed out because he's very, very hands-on and notices when things aren't there, and thought that someone was robbing him. So at the end of the meal, the head blender gets on stage. At the time, head blender gets on stage, opens up a decanter, asks Alexandra to join him, tells a story. It's been wonderful working for you. You are, creative. You allow us to indulge our curiosities at work. You pay us on time. Apparently, that's a big thing in independent French businesses. And yeah, I created this barrel for your 20th anniversary of owning Maison Ferrand. And Alexandra was super touched by it all. Poured each other a glass, cling cling, and they had a drink. Alexandra hated it. So they went back a couple of months later and reformulated the blend into what we have today. The picture that Ben just had on the screen there was Planteray 20th anniversary. And the TH in 20th is always in superscript, so it's tiny. So
very small.
When you're on a bar,
very small.
Yeah, when you're on a bar, you just see plantation as it was 20, and you assume it's a 20-year-old rum, and it's not. And we got a lot of kickback from, not even from general customers, from nerds in the rum world, about that. So we changed the name to XO. For extra old. Now, the irony of us using that is in our cognac operation, we do not use VS, VSOP, or XO because they don't really tell you anything about what's in there beyond a very loose legal definition. So XO was a tip of the cap to our both it being an extra old rum and our cognac making business. The rum itself, though, all that guff aside, the rum itself is incredible. This is our biggest selling rum by revenue in the entire world, which for a 55, 60 quid bottle is a hell of an achievement. This is a blend of Bajan rums from our cellars in Barbados, aged 8 to 15 years old, that are blended together. After this blend, they're shipped to France and they're put in a cognac barrel for 2 years. It's bottled at 40%. And this is kind of an elevated version of the Planteray 5, which is kind of our jack of all trades rum. This one can satisfy anyone in the room. If you have 4 or 5 people around for dinner, after dinner, if you want a quick drink, you pour them a glass of this, and all 5 of them will find something different about this that they like. With it being 40%, it's very soft, and it's could be a little too soft because it's dangerously easy to kill a bottle of this. The number of times during the 4.5 years I've been on board that I have brought a few people back to my flat after a night out and we've started having a few drinks, and I've woke up to a third of a bottle of this left. It's happened more than once. Let's just put it that way. I'm not going to say it's a regular thing, but it has happened. One of the advantages of it is the blend is so well balanced and so finely poised that you get a little bit of everything that comes with Bajan rum, but at a higher end. So with this being honey banana, was it?
Banana caramel.
Banana caramel. Cannot think of a more perfect match.
And it is banana as well.
Yeah. So, so this one causes a bit of a headache in the mid-2010s, but it has a lot of significance within the company. This has opened the doors for us to do a lot of things. So the white rum, the one that we started with, we lose money for every bottle that we sell. We lose about 32 cents a bottle every bottle that we sell. We do that because Alexandra knows at some point in your life you're going to buy this. That was his justification for it. He's happy to lose money on XO, but gain it back long term because he knows one day you'll buy this. By bottle sales, 3 Stars is our biggest selling in the world. This is our 4th biggest by bottle in the world, which for a 60 quid bottle is phenomenal. So it's easy to think that it might just be because it's a higher ticket, but we also sell an absolute truckload of it across the world. So I am dying to see what this chocolate tastes like. So let's dive in.
It helps that the bottle looks absolutely amazing as well. It looks like super premium. But right, so the chocolate because
also helps.
Oh yeah, why have I not got any of them? Oh, it's because I've got the glass. I've got the glass packs.
Brown one, maybe.
Yeah. Right. So the chocolate. This is way more banana-y than I thought it was going to be.
Wow.
This is like eating a fresh banana.
Yeah. So it's effectively a preserved banana puree. So am I going to bore everyone talking about my caramel recipe again? I'm just going to do it.
Do it, man.
Every time I do a caramel with Ben, I always say there's 2 ways to make caramel. There's the way where you make it by putting water and sugar in the pan first and then start to cook the sugar down. Or there's the right way, which is the way I do it, which is where there's no water at all. And you take the sugar to almost burning before you then quickly whisk butter into it to stop the cooking process. And then once the cooking process has stopped, but the sugar continues to reduce down and thicken, that's when you mix your cream in. So all I've done with this is that exact process. I haven't taken it quite as dark as I would normally because I wanted a bit of extra sweetness, just because I think the rum's got a beautiful sweetness to it and I didn't want to kill that off completely. But then it's just pureed banana and it's a bucket load of pureed banana. So again, normally you'd flavour a caramel by putting about half, roughly, of a concentrated liquid, if that's what you're using, into the caramel. So I make a spiced apple caramel, I make an apple pie caramel, and I use a reduced down apple puree that I've spiced with cinnamon and nutmeg, and I use about half the volume apple to the caramel mixture. With this, I've used a 1-to-1 ratio of banana to caramel, so it's effectively stopped the banana from degrading because it's been preserved with all the sugar from the caramel. So you've just got almost a caramel liquid, a banana liquid center that's held together with the caramel.
It's insane. I've never come across a banana chocolate caramel sweet that's had that freshness of a banana. It's absolutely bonkers.
I think I'm going to have to change the treat slogan to changing the world one caramel at a time. I think.
Well, yeah, because you're oh, mate, Daniel, you've not encountered Chris's peppered caramel, so not salted caramel, black pepper caramel, game changer. Like absolutely. We've had it on what three tastings now.
I think we've done 2, and I've sent you a batch in between.
Yeah. Just on its own. It like people have turned around and said like, in fact, one of them we did where it was Brian's. In fact, he was on the call. We did a corporate one for him, and he explicitly asked for peppered caramel as one of them. I don't care what it goes with. We just
did that one.
Yeah. So of opening it up to the room, let's see what people think, because I'm intrigued whether the banana's almost a bit too banana-y.
Exactly what I was going to say, Ben. I could not eat that banana without the rum. Together, they're great, but on its own, one of those banana chocolates, and that would be it. I couldn't. It's not lovely. It's just wow. A little bit of a good thing is all you need, I think, when it comes to one of those bananas.
That's why I really like doing these evenings, though, Brian, because I make chocolates that I would never put out to retail, because it's all about trying to get them to work with those spirits.
And it did work. It did work. You needed something to go with it.
Definitely worked.
It's one of your 5 a day as well.
It's at least 3 of your 5 a day. 1 for your sugar, 2 for your chocolate, 3 for your banana.
But it's not synthetic banana flavour, which is fantastic.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It's not even close to being it's synthetic. It's so it is like eating a banana. It's so fresh and natural. Yeah,
I was half expecting the old children's
foam banana. Was it those foam banana sweets you can get?
Yeah.
Medicine.
I bought my bananas well in advance, let them go black, just like you would if you were making banana bread, and pureed them down. And as I say, just nothing else in it. I didn't add any vanilla, no sugar to it. It was just banana puree straight into the caramel. Folded the 2 together, and that was it.
But both this one and the ginger, I thought, complemented the rums beautifully. They were like a symbiotic relationship.
That's what we're trying to do. Thanks, Louise.
We're clearly a couple of rums down because somebody's come out with symbiotic. I am wondering if you were to do that again. I'm wondering what a bit of black pepper would do in that.
Just let the black pepper go, Ben.
I know. I'm just because it's so intense.
I was tempted to use the white pepper trick again.
Yeah.
Because I'd intentionally put so much banana in it. As I said, there were 2.5 bananas in the batch that I've done compared to the half a banana that we did with the previous one, which was a white chocolate ganache, not a caramel.
Yeah.
So it already carried a little bit better in the white chocolate because it didn't have as much of a sugar content, a bit more of a milk powder content. So I was tempted with that. And then I thought, do I put black pepper in? But I didn't want to pull too much of the spiciness out because it was the sweetness really for the rum that I enjoyed.
Yeah. Oh God, if you'd have done that with a white chocolate shell, that would just be way too sweet. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Go on.
So I looked up the XO because obviously now I'm looking at buying everything. There's another one called PXXO.
Pedro Zimene, that is. I was just going to say, Dan, because Dan was very kind, and when he sent me through all of the samples for me to be able to plan the recipes, he popped a couple of extra little bits in for me, and that PX.
Wait, what? Hang on.
Sorry, Dan, have I dropped you there? That PX.
I'll deal with Ben later. It's fine.
Yeah, you will.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got very, very, very little of that left in the bottle.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to say this isn't something I'd get away with saying at school, but I feel that some Sichuan peppers would go very, very well with that.
Ooh, yeah.
That ever so slight aniseed note with banana and honey, I think would.
Yeah.
But you like they're really they can be very unpredictable, so it'd be yeah.
So I I am probably going to be putting an order in because I've had a bit of a run on weirdly cut and dry over the last week. So I got some stock in with a view of if people want to buy tonight, you can do. Which reminds me, I haven't actually sorted a code out. So if you do want to buy anything, I will give you a discount. What I will do is I will email everybody that's bought a pack is on the card is on the call tomorrow morning because I need to sort out a discount code. However, I am going to have to put an order in to get stock in. So I probably will get the PXXO in because I've not had it in yet, but there is an avenue where I can actually sell measures of it as well. So if you did want a PXXO, Will, I think, is the one talking on it, let me know. And you'll get 10% discount, but I will have to order it in for you. So we can get that sorted.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So, that's kind of where we are because that's just.
Just talk.
Oh, is it good?
Just mate. It's like punching yourself with molasses. It's just it's gorgeous. It's absolutely stunning.
Oh, I'm so pleased for you.
A couple of weeks ago was Manchester Rum Festival. For those of you that know Dave Marsland of the Drinks Enthusiast, that's his festival. It was the 9th edition of that, and I took along 8 rums, and I took a case of each to sell. And I'd sold out of it's a 6-hour event, and I'd sold out of the cut and dry in 90 minutes. Yeah. I could probably have realistically sold 30 bottles of that on the day.
I'll be really interested to see what people think of that because I'm getting random orders, and it's almost like people have gone, "Oh, they've got it. I'll get it off him," type thing. So, right. So let's go on to our 2 flavors. So I will, for the chocolate reference, we have, so this is the maple bacon. God, I'm intrigued by this because I love maple bacon as well. Now, I am going to try and do something. If I change that, can you see the Planteray XO?
No.
Or are you still looking at the shot of the chocolates?
Chocolates.
Good. Right. Okay. That's all right then. Because I've changed screens because I want to get the Stiggins up. And that's new tab. Right. So do you want to tell us about the Planteray Stiggins Fancy Pineapple 1824 recipe?
Stiggins Fancy Pineapple 1824 recipe, to give its full name, is... First of all, it's a lesson in how to get Alexandra to do something. Alexandra is one of those people who a good idea is only a good idea if there's a good story behind it. And the way to get him to acknowledge something is a good idea is either convince him that it's his idea or to find a historic or literary reference that says this is the first time it ever happened. There is a drinks writer called David Wondrich. David's job within the drinks world is drinks history. One of his hobbies is to find the first written text where a specific alcoholic trend was mentioned. Just so happens that David found in Charles Dickens' book, The Pickwick Papers, the first literary reference to pineapple and alcohol together. And it was in the Pickwick Papers. It was a character called Reverend Stiggins, who those of you who've read the Pickwick Papers would know that he was an inordinate priest, going around preaching abstinence and prohibition whilst being a drunk. But on his person, he always had a flask of pineapple grog. He couldn't really call it rum, but pineapple grog. Now, during the Age of Exploration, when the Old World was colonizing the New World, the only way to get fresh things they found back to Europe was to pickle it in alcohol. So you would often find that the ship's grog supply had all sorts in there. Can you even imagine in the year 1824, knowing what you know in life at that point, in that era, what you would have thought seeing a pineapple for the first time? It's impossible for us living in 2024 to imagine. Oh God, it's 2025. It's 200 years. I didn't know that. We should have done an event for it last year. I'm a year behind. Damn. We should have done a 2024 Stiggins event for 200 years and we didn't do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, see you all in 99 years. Can you even imagine, with the knowledge of the world today, seeing something like a pineapple for the very first time? It would have looked like an alien being. But pineapples, essentially, the only way to get them from there to here was pickling them in grog. At the time, I'm not sure if osmosis had been discovered as a principle. They wondered why the grog tasted of pineapple. And all of a sudden, you had an excuse for that to be put in paper. And that happened to be in Charles Dickens' book for the very first time. So Alexandra loved this as an idea. He's like, this is excellent. Because at that point, we didn't own all of the distillery in Barbados. We just owned about 10% of it. So he's like, we can get pineapple shipped to Barbados very, very easily. We can do it all over there. So this is a blend of 2 rums. It is a blend of the first rum we tried, 3 stars. In that, the 3 stars is infused with the skin and leaves of a pineapple. That is to extract oil for mouthfeel and texture. In another vat is the Planteray Original Dark, which has the flesh of the pineapple to extract the sugars in the fruit for sweetness and flavor. After that's done, we filter the pineapple bits out, we blend it together, and we barrel age it for an indeterminate period of time. It can be 6 months, it can be a year and a half. It depends entirely on what time of year we're doing it. So this is one of the very, very few pineapple rums on the market that actually has rum and pineapples in it together. Pineapples have died in the production of this. That's how Paul always says it. And it's rare that a fruited rum can say such a thing. Now, pineapples are tricky to work with. They contain an enzyme that basically eats you out from the inside, which is why after eating a piece of pineapple, if you leave it on your tongue, it'll start to feel spicy, and that's just the enzyme trying to break your tongue down. Your stomach acid is much stronger than this enzyme, so don't worry about that. With this as well, the pineapple is very subtle. When you're drinking an infused spirit, you really do need to know what the spirit is. And I think with a lot of infused spirits, that's where they go wrong, is that you hand them to someone and they can't tell what the base spirit is. For me, my taste in particular, the pineapple for this comes when I swallow. It comes right at the back of my throat. When you shake this up in a daiquiri, so using this instead of white rum, there's something about pineapples on a molecular level that just explode when they're aggravated. When you shake the pineapple rum with the sugar, the ice, and the lime juice, the pineapple multiplies. I can't really explain why. I'm not a trained chemist, so I wouldn't know. If anyone here is, feel free to jump in. But yeah, something
Probably.
about pineapple. Say again?
Chris, probably.
So the pineapple taste on the palate with this might be quite subtle and almost non-existent to some of you. It's a tasting note I have had before, and it's occasionally there. When you aggravate this in mixed drinks, the pineapple becomes incredibly present. This was originally released for Tales of the Cocktail in New Orleans. It's a major global spirits festival. In 2014, we produced 900 bottles of it, and it sold out within about 3 days. We were then out of it for nearly 2 years. Some trickled into America in 2015. In the UK, we got it in 2016. And at a tasting I did recently for a bar, I had a senior bartender at this venue insist that I was wrong, because this feels like it's been around our entire bartending careers because we've done so much with it. When I started and I was reminded that this was originally released in the UK in 2016, I'd forgotten all about it. I thought this had been around since as long as I've been in cocktail bars, since about 2008. And that's not the case. It's become one of those products that a lot of bartenders of my age in particular have got a load of specific memories and sentimental attachments to, because it correlates with the time when we were starting to make our names. We were making cocktails with this. We were making cocktails with things like Fernet Branca, Green Chartreuse, everything we were doing in the mid-2010s when cocktails really started to take off. And this managed to ride the wave at exactly the right time. So I essentially owe what I'm doing right now to this rum, because without it, I wouldn't have been introduced to rum properly. I was still drinking daiquiris at that point, but I'd not really gone beyond that. I didn't even enjoy rum and coke back then. This opened all the doors for me, and it is a truly, truly phenomenal rum. It is still one of our top 5 selling products worldwide. In the UK, it is our 3rd best-selling product. And yeah, we in the trade have got a lot of fun memories attached to Sounds problematic, that, doesn't it? I've got fond memories attached to this bottle of rum. But yeah, we have a lot of fond memories attached to Stiggins Fancy, and we know it quite a lot in terms of our cocktail journey. So I'm super excited to get involved with the chocolate on this one. Chris, do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
So I'm going to super geek out now because I researched the process that Dan's just talked us through about how this is made. And I came up with a recipe that tried to mimic that process. So there is bacon in this chocolate, but bacon isn't going to be the prominent flavor. The chocolate's the prominent flavor. And then the sweetness of the maple. So I kind of marinated my chocolate in maple syrup, and I cooked down streaky bacon. Tried it with smoked bacon at first, but didn't quite give me the effect that I wanted. So it's unsmoked, streaky back bacon. Cooked down. The fat and the lardons were then put into cream and were infused in the cream overnight. And then the cream was heated and folded through the chocolate, and then finished with by blending it with butter and a little bit of inverted sugar. So I was trying to kind of mimic that process of having the pineapple skin and leaves infused and then mixed with so that'd be infused in the dark, wouldn't it, in your process, Dan, and then infused with the 3-star. So I was trying to come up with a process that mirrored what Planteray were doing, what Plantation were doing, sorry. And as I say, try to kind of keep that bacon level so that it's there at the back of your throat, but you're not eating a savory treat. You're still getting very much a chocolate that's got the bacon in there. And then the other thing that was really important to me with this one was trying to get the mouthfeel right. So because I was tempted just to fold the maple syrup through at the end, which would have given a bit more sweetness, but would have also let the chocolate down a little bit in terms of its texture. It would have made the chocolate a little bit looser. Whereas keeping it in with the chocolate and then having the hot cream hit the maple syrup rather than the maple syrup be added to a cooled ganache at the end, what it's done is it's thickened it up. So you almost get quite a claggy caramel texture, but it just coats the mouth really nicely. So it's not as liquid as it would have been had I just put the maple syrup in at the end. So there was a little bit of kind of chemical.
Yeah, that's definitely noticeable compared to the banana immediately before, because it's a lot thicker. Like you say, it really coats the mouth.
So it's got a 33.6% milk chocolate in there, as opposed to the banana, which was just a caramel. There was no chocolate in the center of that.
The bacon is, you're right, the bacon is not up front, and I thought I'd missed it to start with, but it's there more on the finish.
I was like I say, trying to.
Yeah.
I get the same as Dan with the pineapple. It's there right at the end for me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. It's on the nose, but I wouldn't necessarily know drinking that there was a pineapple rum until after I'd swallowed. And
yes, yeah. Texture of the chocolate's amazing though. It's so good. Also, if anybody does pub quizzes or is somebody that writes questions for pub quizzes, one thing that I found out a couple of years ago, and every time I do a drinks quiz or any kind of food and drinks quiz, it was one of my questions. So the question is, which fruit will you find on top of the Wimbledon's men's tennis trophy? And it's a pineapple. The trophy was so the Wimbledon's tournament was launched in 1887. And at that time, pineapples were considered essentially like the height of luxury. So if you were an aristocrat, or even if you were kind of like new money and you wanted to show off and you had a dinner party, you would have a pineapple. So it's one of those things where if somebody were to say, what fruit's on top of the Wimbledon's tennis trophy, you'd be like, there's no fruit. What are you on about? And actually, there is a little golden pineapple that sits on top of the men's trophy. I used to really struggle with pineapple. I thought I didn't like pineapple until I had two things, which was a there's a Brazilian steakhouse in Selby that did or still do essentially pineapple on the grill that they coat with cinnamon and nutmeg, and they do slices of that, and it blew my socks off. And this, I was like, I don't think I like pineapple, and then I tried this, and I was like, maybe I do. I think this is absolutely brilliant. Now, is the smoky version still available, or is that now done? No.
No,
So
that was a one-off.
Yeah, so there was a smoky formula, I think it was called, which was it finished in Teeling casks?
Yeah. Finished for 1 year in a Teeling's peated whiskey cask. As part of the swap, Teeling's took a load of pineapple rum barrels from us and released a whiskey in pineapple rum barrels. I've never actually tried their whiskey in the pineapple barrel.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was a bit of a disappointment. It wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, but I think that's more because I love this so much and I really had my hopes up for it.
I was disappointed by the rum as well.
Yeah, yeah.
We all fed this back to Alexandra, who took it. The thing that disappointed me the most was I'd built it up too much in my head.
Likewise.
I thought we gave it the wrong name. I don't think Smoky Stiggins was the right name because it wasn't smoky.
It wasn't.
It had the dirt of the peat, not the smoke.
Yes, yeah. It was almost like it was burnt. Yeah, it was like burnt pineapple rather than smoky. Yeah, absolutely. Right, so let's open it up to the rest of the room and let's get the feedback on this. We're all so shy.
Both rum and chocolate are amazing.
Lingering aftertaste.
Chris, do you do the maple bacon ones for mass production, or was it just for tonight?
This always gets asked at some point in the night. It's Chris, do you do this particular one in scale?
Yeah.
So, in fact, this is probably a really good time because you've done this a few times before. Do you want to basically explain like what you're doing now and how it's working? Because there we go. Yeah.
Near the end of the night. Who are you, Chris?
So Treat is actually no longer a retailing company. So my background is in education, and I left education after 15 years in 2020, just as we went into lockdown. I was signed off work with anxiety and depression because I was in charge of behaviour for a secondary school, and I could no longer align my moral compass with the direction that the school wanted me to take behaviour in. I think is the demo. It's the really nice way of saying that I couldn't stand my job anymore. So I taught myself to make chocolate as a bit of a stress relief, and feedback from family was that it was going okay. So with the support of my wife and family, I handed my notice in and I started Treat. And we retailed, and it was my sole form of income for about 2.5 years. At which point I got a job back in education, but working with students with autism. So the aim of Treat was always to try and open an academy to work with the sorts of students that I was permanently excluding, so that they had somewhere that they could thrive rather than just fall through the cracks of the education system. Because we don't really have an education system, we have an academia system. It doesn't cover all bases of education for me. So for the last 3 years, I've worked with students with varying degrees of learning difficulties and disabilities. All of that said, come September the 1st, I'm actually going back into mainstream education to work in a school with a large population of SEND students that are falling through the cracks. Treat still exists as a corporate company, and we also do events like this with Ben. We're doing weddings, things like that. So the short answer to your question is we don't do anything en masse. Everything now is completely bespoke. What I always say on the calls with Ben, though, is I am contactable through Ben or through one of our social media pages, and I'm always more than happy to try and meet people's needs if they're looking for something specific. We obviously have a minimum order, but we can usually make that like 40 chocolates. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. So if you were looking for something for a specific event or for a specific time, then I'm sure I can sort you out with something.
Oh, cool. Excellent. Thank you. And good
No
luck in
problem.
September.
Yeah, amazing background.
Yeah.
Well done, you.
Best of luck on the new journey, man. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
Thank
well
you
done.
very much. Thanks.
Yeah. So if anybody
Maybe-
ever doubted that ham and pineapple pizza works, this is the answer as to why it does.
Fix that, Jay. That's never going to be true. Never going to be true.
Well, it's pineapple and bacon.
The only
What
way
more
this
do you
would work,
want?
the only way this would work, Jay, is if I drank the entire bottle and was that desperate for something to eat, and that was all that was left in the fridge.
Well said, that man.
And then I would still pick the pineapple off.
Darren lived in Amsterdam for 3 years. He worked there over there, and every pizza has pineapple on it in Holland.
Disgrace.
Regardless.
Even if you ask for them to remove it, they.
I mean, we do know what Amsterdam is also famous for, don't
Well,
we?
that's
So it's
it. Yeah,
possibly
that's
not,
what happens.
I couldn't
Canals.
possibly comment, but the canals are lovely.
full of pizzas.
Exactly, full of pineapple pieces. Yeah.
Full of pineapple bits that they've chucked off. Yeah.
That's the one.
Right. Okay, so let's go on to our last one. So I shouldn't, fingers crossed, need to put the picture up because it's the last one left, apart from the jelly, which Chris will tell you about once we've done the rest. So let me just... So if you want to... Hang on, let me get the pictures. Right, so Cut and Dry, which is relatively new. I am going to try and get a picture of the bottle if you want to start your explanation as to what we are looking at, Daniel.
Sure. So this is been both the biggest blessing and the biggest pain in my arse over the last 2 years. Pardon my language. In 2023, when we were first told about this, our allocation for the whole year was 12. And that's not 12 cases, it's not 12 barrels, it's 12 individual bottles. So at the time, there were 10 of us in the team. So Paul, UKBA, got 3, and the rest of us got a bottle of each. And it was basically for us to learn to love it, or to just immediately love it, and then start telling everyone about it. Because in 2024, it was getting its launch. 2024 came around, and it was a case of, oh, we don't have enough. So we had 2,500 bottles for the entire year. And of our team, 5 of us are sales reps. So we worked out that each rep could sell 60 bottles a month. And that's it. I could probably have sold that every 3 days for the entire year, just in my patch alone. This is probably... I don't know whether to say it or not. This is probably my favorite thing that we do at the minute. And like, I've always been, Planteray 5 has always been my go-to. I might actually prefer this to pineapple. And pineapple has the advantage of 9 years worth of sentiment and history on me. This is the best example of an infused rum I've ever tasted in my life. So it's the same principle. Now, the beauty of this as well is, earlier on I mentioned the best way to get Alexandra to do something is to either convince him it's his idea, or find a literary reference. The Minister of Agriculture for Barbados was doing a tour of our distillery and asked Alexandra how he would improve Barbados's agricultural export reputation outside of rum. And Alexandra just went, there's coconut groves over there. That's what I do. We've recently purchased a 2,000-acre plantation on the island of Barbados, which was originally going to be warehouses and an expanded visitors centre. It's now about 50% coconut groves. The main reason why we didn't have as much of this is because in order to scale it up for full production, we would have needed to have used more coconuts than is currently grown on the island of Barbados. Planting a coconut tree to getting your first fruit is around 3 years. We got straight to work on that, and now we're bearing quite a bit of fruit. We did buy some fully grown coconut trees and transport them across. Back in January, I was very, very lucky enough to go to the distillery in Barbados for the first time, and I got to tour the coconut grove, and I had a defining career experience while I was there. In that one of the old boys just pulled a coconut off the tree, ugly green thing, hacked it in half with a machete, gave me it. I drank the coconut water, fresh out the coconut off the tree, which is the nicest coconut water I've ever had. He then pulled a bottle of this out of nowhere, filled half of a coconut with it, and he just went, "Drink up, boy." And I was like, "Oh, glug, 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 glug." And it was incredible because the coconut innards, were nice and soft. The rum had soaked into the coconut. I just scraped a little bit off with my finger at the end and fed it to myself like a baby. I was just like, "This is so good. Oh my God." Just the coconut seeping into the rum was outstanding. As with the pineapple, plenty of coconuts have died in the production of this. In the infusion ratio, there is about 1 coconut per litre, so about 0.7 of coconut per bottle. We take the husks and the outer layer of the flesh, and we put that in a vat with 1 unaged Barbados rum. We take the flesh and a little bit of the milk and put it in a vat with another unaged Barbados rum. After they've done their thing and we blend them together and filter out all the solids, we add some 4-year-old Barbados rum for body and texture. So all that is in this is coconuts and Barbados rum. This is a discussion we had internally when we had a massive shortfall was whether to import coconuts. But because the Minister of Agriculture was somebody who prompted the thoughts that made this rum, we wanted to stay true to that. So it is only Bajan coconut that goes in there and only Bajan rum. This is now freely available, so it's not in allocation anymore. It's been available for everybody to order all year, since about April, and it's an absolute monster for us. Like I said, at Manchester Rum Festival, I brought a case of everything. I could probably realistically salesman's hat on for a minute. I've sold 5 cases of that over the course of a 6-hour festival. As a tasty product, if you do buy it and you decide to make cocktails with it, remember how rich and sweet it already is. You'll need to dial back the sugar quite a lot. So if you were the first drink, when we give someone a new rum, the first drink they always make is a daiquiri. The first time I made a daiquiri with this, it was horrible because I followed the classic recipe. I didn't account for the fact that the rum was rich and sweet on its own. When I dropped the sugar down to about 5 ml and the lime down to about 10, that's where everything just worked. It was a beautifully well-balanced drink. And I've got a couple of bar accounts serving espresso martinis with this and the original dark as a split base at the minute. And yeah, the future is incredibly bright for this rum, and we're so happy that it's finally freely available for retailers, especially to get hold of.
So, question for you, mate. So this it's not going to pick up, but maybe. So on the bottom, this says spirit drink, product of Barbados. Now, I know in some cases, because of the sugar content, some brands can't call it rum because of the sugar content. Is that
right?
An issue? Is that the situation with this?
Yes, 100%.
Right. Yeah.
So with the pineapple as well. So the legal maximum limit in the world in Europe to be labelled as a rum is 20 grams per litre. 20 grams per litre is the equivalent of about 5 teaspoons of sugar. So over the course of shots, it's about 1/5 of a spoon of sugar per shot, which is insignificant. Adds something to the flavor profile, but I mean, health-wise, that's insignificant.
Yeah, we've had discussions before. In fact, I think it was in our last tasting when we had a discussion about the fact that some rum brands are kind of like, oh, we're not going to add sugar or anything like that, whereas actually Planteray use the sugar as almost like a seasoning in terms of this is what actually adds to the flavor profile, and if it didn't have this. You 100%. Need that sweetness in this. You need the sweeter note, because if it didn't have it, it would be too sharp almost. It would be too clean.
For sure. There are rums that exist both in and outside of our portfolio that could do with less. There are rums that exist that could do with more. A big issue that it's not really a big issue. It's an issue I personally have, is that since we did that session a few years ago, I've actually learned our sugar process. So the image of when people say, oh yeah, they add sugar to their rum, is someone stood by the vat with a massive sack of Tate and Lyle, just tipping it all in there. It couldn't be further from the truth. Like, no one does that. some of maybe the cheap young upstart spice rum brands do that, and they get it off the ground. We make something called dosage. It's a word commonly used in champagne terms. Dosage for us is a rum-based sugar cordial that is also alcoholic. So our dosage is 30% ABV, toasted sugar that is then barrel aged for a couple of years. It is gorgeous. And I've said to Alexandre, sat around his kitchen table in France, I've said, you'd solve so many problems for us if you bottled this and sold it. If you just let people taste this.
Oh, Planteray dosage. That sounds good.
He won't do it. He says it's not what we're about. We're about the end product, not about the products that go into it. And I was like, oh, yeah, I get that, but
because the spirit specialist dosage. How about a white label? The spirit specialist dosage is a.
In fact,
we'll talk
the closest
later.
You'll get to that is if double six drinks.
Yeah.
Wolf Brothers. We've given them the recipe for our dosage. On condition that they only produce it to use in one cocktail in their bars. They bought a barrel of Fijian rum off us last year to make a rum old fashioned, and they wanted the sugar for the old fashioned to be dosage.
Right.
So they had to sign an agreement, but I'm sure Tom Finnan or Jody Monteith would let you have 25 mil of that, as long as you're still.
Yeah. No, it could be very interesting that.
Dosage. It's. So for our cognacs, we use cognac-based dosage. For our rums, we use rum-based dosage. I am a big champion of the idea of us selling that one day. I doubt it'll ever happen, but it would solve a few issues for us with people that chat back over sugar content. But at the same time, on most of our bottles that have sugar in, the sugar content is written on the label. This ironically,
it's declared. Yeah.
One that
absolutely.
I don't think it does. But the Fiji, for example, in the bottom left of the label, it says 16 grams on that one. We're very open about the fact we do it. It's on our website. It's on all our product sheets. We don't try and hide it.
Which not many do, but a lot of people tend to hide it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, rum itself is made from sugar. So a little bit more that's treated in a different way. It's just the equivalent of putting salt and vinegar on a good portion of chips. That's the way I look at it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Coconut. Let's get into the chocolate on this one because I've not dived
into it. So this is Manchester tarts because I've not put this. I didn't put the screen up to show which one it was because it's the last one. I had no idea what Manchester tart was when you sent me the list. This is the list, and you'd handwritten everything on, I think, on your phone. So it was like really dodgy handwriting anyway. And I was like, what the F is Manchester tart? Now, I'm not going to try and kind of put people's influence people's judgments, but you've done some really good pairings so far. But fucking hell, this is incredible. So what on earth have you done here? I've found a picture of a Manchester tart, which I'd never seen before in my life.
Well done. I'm really impressed. That's the image you found when you Googled Manchester tart.
BBC Good Food. BBC Good Food. They all look different, but let's go to the source.
I would imagine that your web filter was kicking off big time when you Googled Manchester tart.
Well, safe search is on, so you know.
And first off, that rum is just something else. So I totally agree with Dan that it is probably the best. I don't think it's the best infused rum I've ever had. I think it's the best infused spirit I've ever had of anything. It's just stunning because it does exactly what it says on the tin. Obviously the coconut's all very fresh, but for me, I got a real hit of desiccated, dried coconut on the nose.
Yeah. Inside of a Bounty bar.
Made me jump immediately to a Manchester tart. So my wife Amy and I, when we got married, our whole wedding was a competition to the point that our top table had a scoreboard on it. And every table was split down the middle with our guests, and every table had some sort of competition on it. And whichever table won, they scored a point for the bride or the groom. And everything was Northwest versus Northeast themed, down to the menu. So she had Whitby crab to start, and I had Lancashire black pudding. And then she had a Teesside Parmo, and I had a hot pot. And then for dessert, she had a Pissito's lemon top, which is like a lemon sorbet on top of vanilla ice cream. And I had a Manchester tart. So a Manchester tart is effectively a sweet pastry tart shell with a layer of strawberry jam and then a layer of set custard. If you're being posh, it should be a creme anglaise, but because it's Manchester, we're not. And then on top of that, you just whack a load of desiccated coconut on it, and then you top it with either raspberries or strawberries. So because I got that hit of desiccated coconut, it just took me back to having that dessert. So what you've got there is a strawberry pâté de fruits. So I macerated strawberries, turned them into a jam effectively, and then I laughed earlier when you said about being a chemist, because making a pâté de fruits is all about balancing chemicals and balancing pectin. So each fruit has its own level of pectin, which is then affected by how much sugar you add to it. So you have to balance that with citric acid and add more pectin in to get the right level of set. But then you end up with a set jam that doesn't have too much available water, because water is the enemy of chocolate. So whenever I'm making any fillings, I have to consider how much available water there is. And that is basically hydrogen and oxygen molecules that aren't combined to the sugars or fats in the ganache, caramel, whatever it is that I'm putting in there. If there's too much water, the shells, the chocolate shells will break down and the ganache will go off too quickly, or the caramel or whatever it is. So balancing all of that for the pâté de fruits, and then I made a creme anglaise, and I set that up as well by thickening it up and then folding that through some 28% white chocolate from the Ivory Coast, and then layered those two things in the shell. So when you eat everything together with the rum, you get a Manchester tart.
It's absolutely amazing. Like this is up there with the best chocolate that you made, just on its own, but as a pairing with the rum, and the rum's incredible as well. It's just like spot on. It's just, I'm gobsmacked, mate. I really, and this is one where, again, with pepper caramel, just make these, mate. Quit teaching, make these. You'll make £1,000,000, like easy. It's just ridiculous. I've opened it up to the rest of the room. This is where everyone turns around and goes, "Yeah, it was all right. It's not that bad," but I don't care. Any thoughts from the rest of the room, please?
I got to be honest. I've got a bottle of the pineapple, and I've always been disappointed because it didn't taste like pineapple. So I'm interested to try shaking it up. But this tastes like coconut.
Yeah.
So, yes, this does what it says in the tin. So, yeah. I got to say, there is another one. I've got a bottle of it. Can't remember what it is. I bought it from you, which is another coconut rum.
Is it the Spirited Union? The organic coconut. Yes, but that's a lot cleaner because they redistill with so they redistill with coconut flakes and cacao nibs, and then dilute with coconut water.
Yeah.
So it's a lot cleaner. That's really good in a daiquiri because it doesn't have the sweetness that this has got. But this, as Chris said, the first time I tried this, I just got I was like inside of a Bounty bar because I was instantly looking for a chocolate liqueur to go with it. I was going to ask Daniel, actually, have you had any comments about the colour? Because every coconut rum, every other coconut rum out there is clear. The Spirited Union, which is the most coconutty coconut rum I've come across, is crystal clear. Obviously, you say coconut rum and people say, "Oh, Malibu," and it's like, it's not fucking rum. But I think the perception of coconut rum is it should be clear. The fact that this has got the colour, not that it not that it's going to be a hindrance, but do you think it's, for some people, it might be just one of those weird subconscious things of,
Expect
well,
it to be
it
more
can't be
spicy than it is.
it can't be a
you'd expect it to
coconut
be a
rum because
spice
it's brown. It can't be coconut because coconut's clear type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there are a couple of ways to look at that, and maybe I'm being cynical here, but my way to look at that is when you're infusing something with fruit, you can almost take shortcuts because you're imparting a flavor onto it.
Yeah.
Buying bulk white rum is often cheaper than buying bulk aged rum.
Yeah.
That's how I'd look at it from the point of view of someone who's been doing this 19 years, but also
oh no, totally, yeah.
Also someone who's seen the books.
Yeah, and
So
my response would be, my response would be, well, why don't you try it? Because as soon as you try it, you know straight away.
So the important thing to consider with this is up until the point where we add the third rum, and we do that more for body and texture than anything else, this is clear.
Yeah.
I don't know the ratio of what's in there, but there's not much of the dark rum in there at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting point because a lot of the infused rums that I do see out there with various fruits almost always use white rum as the base or unaged rum as the base. Yeah.
Anyone else in the room? Any thoughts?
The rum reminds me. There's those. I'm trying to think of what they're called. There's the cake things you get, the little chocolate covered things that are covered in coconut, and they have like a creamy filling. It reminds me of
caramels, tonic snowballs.
That's it. Yeah. So it reminds me of that because intense coconut.
Oh yeah.
With it as well.
I was thinking more of coconut ice, the pink and the white.
Yeah.
That go together.
I'd say it's
less
sugary than that though. It's more creamy.
Yes, the marshmallow on the inside of the tea cakes. Yeah.
That I just remember as a kid eating too much and your teeth feeling like they're going to fall out.
It's so good. Both of them were amazing. God, mate, that chocolate's fantastic. But what a good rum as well. Right, so we have also the. Oh, sorry.
Liquid Bounty.
Tastes like Bounty. It does. Yeah.
It's like a liquid dark chocolate Bounty.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the chocolate liqueur that I can do something with. I've not tried a daiquiri yet, though, so I'm going to have to try that. So we also have, hang on, let's get it in focus, the jelly. So you've done these as bonuses. And obviously Daniel can eat this because it does. Well, please don't say it's got cream in because he's had half of it already.
It's not got any cream in.
Right. It's just, so what's so you've done this on a few before as a bonus. So what's the base for this?
So I would recommend you pop it in your mouth and let it melt a little bit, let it come to your mouth temperature just to start to dissolve. So this is a plantation because I had an old bottle before the branding changed in the cupboard. This has long been my go-to rum. It's the Jamaica pot still rum. So that jelly is made with the only liquid that's in it is the rum. So it's basically just distilled down with a little bit of sugar, a little bit of gelatin, and then some stabilizers and cooked to very specific temperatures and then molded, rolled in a little bit of granulated sugar, and then there you go. You got a rum jelly.
You're right. It needs that minute to really, the funk then kicks in.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's in the middle because I'd almost like split it with my tongue, and that's when that funkiness kicked in.
Disappeared. Chris, you're a magician. Simple.
Yeah.
You have just produced some sublime tastes that marry to these spirits by an unbelievable, and I don't know how you do it. You're just fantastic. Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you, David.
It is. It's like a few people that haven't done our tastings, and when I've said like, oh, I'm doing this chocolate pairing, and they're like, oh, that sounds interesting. I was like, yeah, but like think of Heston Blumenthal, but move to chocolates, and it's
I
very
did the
much like that.
Wilson's tasting, and that was good, but this has just took it to a different level. It's just mind blowing. What your creative palette is just fantastic. How you do it, I don't know, but carry on because you're bloody good at it.
So thank you so much, everyone, and I shall see you soon.
See you later.
Thanks a lot.
very much.
Take care.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.